Welcome to Cooking with Mrs. Salisbury. Today we'll be making my caramel rolls, so let's start off with the yeast dough right away so we can get it rising. I have 1.5 cups of warm water. Make sure to get down at eye level to check. With the water temperature, I always do about the temperature of my body, 98.6. You can be a little bit warmer, but if you get up to about 130, you're going to kill the yeast. Now there are some recipes that you can have warmer water because you put everything in together. This isn't one of them. So the water, about 98.6, you're good to go. The next thing we'll be doing is we'll have our 1/4 cup of butter, or 4 tablespoons. We need a 1/4 cup of honey. Anytime you have any sticky ingredients like molasses, honey, Karo, if you will oil the measuring cup, it'll slide out really fast, which will be great. It's still coming. There we go. It's just really a nice technique to use. There we go. Next, we'll have 1 package of yeast, which is 2 1/4 teaspoons. So I always say use a scant tablespoon because I buy my yeast in bulk in a big bag, and then I put it in the refrigerator in a plastic bag. So there's our 1 package of yeast, and I need 1/2 cup of non-fat dried milk. Non-fat dried milk has already been heated, so all you have to do is just put it in. You cannot tell the difference between this or if you had regular milk. If you use regular fresh milk, then you need to heat it until you see some small bubbles, you see the steam, but then you're going to have to let it cool down before you can use it. Where the non-fat dried milk, we can use it right away. So we have our 1.5 cups of warm water, the 1/4 cup of honey, the package of yeast, and 4 tablespoons of butter, our non-fat dried milk. We'll give this a stir, and then we're going to add our flour. I use bread flour because it's high in gluten. Gluten is stretchy. As soon as you add water or a liquid to flour, then gluten starts forming in the wheat flour, and it is the structure bread rises on. So the more you need yeast bread, the better it likes it. I have 4 cups of bread flour, that's high in gluten, 4 cups of bread flour, and I'm going to be stirring that in. At this point, do not put your hands in or you'll be wearing the dough and we want to eat it. At this point, I'm going to finally add my salt, and that is 1.5 teaspoons of salt. The reason I wait to add it is because I want the yeast to have a chance to start working. When the yeast starts bubbling, you've proved or proofed the yeast, knowing it's going to work. Little flour escape there. Okay, so at this point we're just going to stir the dough, and then we'll put our hands in. Okay, and I'm going to have some extra flour in a cup right here so I can use it. It's 4 cups, but you'll need a little bit extra. At this point, I'm going to start mixing the dough in the bowl. Now, a lot of times people will knead it with the heel of their hand on the countertop. I don't want to clean the mess up. A fast way I make bread is I knead it in the bowl and use more of my fist. And I bring it up, as you see. So this is a medium consistency dough. It is not stiff and it's not extremely soft, just medium. So right now, see, it's sticking to my hands a bit, so I know I'll need to add a bit more flour. But I'm going to knead it just a little bit more here. So we're getting a nice ball of dough. It's still a bit tacky. See how it's sticking to my hands? So I'm going to add a tiny bit more. So yeast dough loves to be kneaded. I always say with quick bread, let go of them, but with yeast bread, it loves to be kneaded. That gluten, the more you knead it, the more it's developed, the more beautiful the structure is on that yeast bread. So at this point, and this is just one recipe, but at this point you have a nice ball of dough. But I'm going to cut it apart because when I cut it apart, you can use a table knife if you don't have a bench scraper. If you cut it apart, not all the way, and knead it back into a ball, it's going to make a really nice texture on the dough, and when you cut it apart, it's going to make those gluten bonds even stronger. So I'm going to cut it apart 3 times. Here's the second time. Like I said, it's not cut all the way through. It's fine, you can cut it all the way through if you want. And here we have this beautiful dough coming about. It's a tiny bit sticky, so I'll put just a tiny bit of flour, and then I'm going to cut it apart one more time. You don't have to be nice to it. You can just cut it up. Okay? Then we'll knead it one more time. There's a sound I like to hear with the bread in the bowl, and it's just a little sh 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 sound when that bread is kneaded a lot and it's really nice and smooth. You'll hear that sound at the bottom of your bowl. A second. It's kind of where it just barely sticks a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. Where you feel it just coming up off of the bottom of the bowl, a tiny bit. Okay, let's look at this. That's beautiful. What we're going to do is we're going to just cover this with plastic wrap, let it rise for 45 minutes. 45 minutes, and then we'll bring it out. 45 minutes in a warm place. Remember, electric stove, the back right-hand burner, the oven vents up through the back right-hand burner. Some stoves vent all the way across the whole back. You cannot set the bread back there or it'll start baking before it is risen. So I usually let my bread rise about 45 minutes. You could go an hour, but it will double in bulk. Okay, so I have another bowl of dough already rising. Let me bring it over for you. I'm going to check some other cinnamon rolls in the oven. Just a moment. About 3 more minutes on some other rolls I have in the oven. I just had to check briefly. All right, we're taking this plastic wrap off the bowl. If you forgot to set the timer and it's doubled in bulk, if you put 2 fingers in and your indentation remains and it doesn't go over the top of it, that means it's risen long enough. So I know this is risen long enough. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Okay, let's go ahead and take it out. You'll hear that carbon dioxide come right on out. We'll put this over here. And then I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my plastic wrap because I don't want to clean up a mess. Now I'm going to roll this out into a rectangle. So I can put a tiny bit of flour on it. And we'll roll this out about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. I'll need some brown sugar here. And some butter and some cinnamon, and we'll be set to go. About 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. Oh my gosh, this is a gorgeous stove. How pretty. Wow, it rolls out beautifully. Okay, looking good. So, that looks fantastic. Next, what we will have is I will need to put about a 1/2 cube of butter on. Let me come over here and get it. About a 1/2 cube of butter. And then I'll need about 3/4 to 1 cup of brown sugar, but about a 1/2 cube of butter. This is just room temperature, so I'm just breaking it up. By the way, leave an inch margin all the way around, otherwise the dough won't stick when you are rolling it up. So, and pinching it shut. That's our timer for some other cinnamon rolls. We'll have those out in no time. Okay. Okay, so leave an inch going all the way around. I'm just evenly distributing this half cube of butter. Okay, I'm going to need to wipe my hands off though before I get in that brown sugar. There we go, perfect. I'm going to use paper towel this time. Okay, next I need to have 3/4 to 1 cup of brown sugar. So we're going to get that. I'm going to put it right here in the middle. Here's 3/4 of a cup. That's perfect. So I don't think we need any more than that. And then we're going to need cinnamon. Let's sprinkle the cinnamon on. Make sure you've got cinnamon and it's not something else. We'll sprinkle it on from that lovely bark of that cinnamon tree. We don't want to get too heavy-handed. I like cinnamon, but remember, other people may not like it quite as well. Then watch the plastic wrap. You're going to roll this up tightly. Roll this up, not too tight, but tightly. See how I kind of pulled back on the dough a little bit? So I come over here to one side, then I come to this side. Oh, you're gonna love this recipe. It is so good, so good. A constant request by friends and family and my kids. It is so tasty. You can make these and put them in the, cover them and put them in the refrigerator overnight to rise and bring them out the next morning and bake them. You just need to let them come to room temperature a little bit before you bake them. So I'm going to bring this log over. I'm going to pinch this shut a little bit more. This I'm going to bring over to match it with that end. Then I'm going to roll it over. I'm going to take the end of the dough and kind of go like this, bring it in just a little bit. That's our timer, I know. Then you can take a sharp knife, cut it down the middle. So if you don't know where the middle is, if we go like this, the middle is about right here. A sharp knife. Then I need to get 6 out of each side. So if you cut that about in the middle, then you can get 3 from each side. Try to get the same size pieces because it will bake evenly. We're making the caramel for our caramel rolls, and I have in here in our small pan, I have 1/4 cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of Karo, the white Karo, and I'm going to add 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Has to be heavy cream. And then over medium-low heat, I'm going to be stirring this. Do not walk off, stay right here with it. So we're going to do some little circles in the middle of the pan, and I need to bring this to a boil and cook it for 1 minute. So let's stir this up here. We'll have a lovely caramel sauce. Okay, almost. So over medium-low heat, we'll bring it to a boil. I'll bring it up just a little bit. If you have a gas stove, you can change that temperature pretty fast. And I need to bring it back down. I need to bring it to a boil and then boil it for 1 minute. That's it. It's real fast to make, but a lovely soft caramel sauce. And that'll be in the bottom of our pan. Keep stirring. See how we're doing. It's starting to come to a boil, so just a second. As soon as it comes to that boil, then we'll set the timer for 1 minute. I'm looking. Almost. I see the edges. I'm waiting for that center to see some boil there. This way it's melting the sugar with the butter and the Karo, the cream. Oh, it's going to be good. Hope you like some nice soft caramel. So this has come to a boil here. And so I'm going to turn it down to about medium. And then I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute. Keep stirring. If your burner, if you think it's boiling too much, then turn it down. I don't want it to go over though, so watch it, don't walk off. Oh, this is really smelling good. Brown sugar, butter, a little bit of Karo without whipping cream. We have just a few more seconds. I'm going to turn my stove down a little bit, just a few more seconds. It's a little too hot, so I'm turning mine down to low. And that's about a minute, so we're done. We just made our caramel sauce, so I'm going to put the caramel sauce in these 2 pans. Oh wow. This is pretty. How about that? All right, let me put some in this little pan here because I have 2 pans. Put a little bit more in here. I hope you like caramel. If you like caramel, you'll love these caramel rolls. Let's put this in here. It's gone. Okay. I'm just going to tilt the pan a little bit to make sure the caramel is even. Then, oh, we still have a few more to cut. I forgot. 4, 5, 6. Okay, excellent. If it hasn't cut all the way through, then do so. Sometimes it doesn't go all the way through. So here we have 1, 2, I think I put 3 in this little pan. It's a nice little pan if you want a little treat. Then let's put the cinnamon rolls in here. So I have 4, 5, put 1 there at the end. Remember, leave a little space beside them because they are going to rise. So at this point, we'll cover them. Let them rise for 45 minutes, then we'll bake them at 375, about 25 minutes, 25 to 30. I'd check them at 25. We'll see you with our caramel rolls when we come back. Welcome back to Cooking with Mrs. Salisbury. I just took our caramel rolls out of the oven. Look at these. That's what you'll be eating soon. Thank you for joining Mrs. Salisbury, and see you next time.